Let me welcome you to a long overdue dinner. This is a reenactors dinner. It is for us. It is to honor you who have served long and hard, bringing history to life with your love of history. So thank you for coming tonight, but also thank you for supporting us in our awarding our first 9 recipients for our design of award here. The first awards are Boatman Awards, and we designed it with the belaying pin engraved and with the challenge coin of the Washington Crossing Historic Park as part of our decor here. We want to celebrate and recognize the dedication, hard work, and talent that have given us this heritage of the Washington Crossing reenactment since 1953. We have numerous award recipients who served in the military. And we have award recipients that, if I can give you a short list, Lonzie Rinker, who passed away from us a year ago, his wife, Ruth, is here to receive Lonzie's award. Dave Rinker also will be honored with Mrs. Rinker accepting his award. Bill Henry Sr. and Bill Henry Jr. We have Dick Bray, Tom Gary, Jack Jamison, Casey Jones, John Robertson, and Ruth Abbott accepting for Jim Abbott, deceased. Several landmark events pushed our park to the height of recognition that it has today. In 1952, the Lutz painting was brought to the park by Mrs. Ann Hawks Hutton, negotiating with the Metropolitan Museum of Art to bring it here. Prior to that time, the public really didn't know and have any impression of either the Lutz painting or the park. For the years that the painting stayed here, both the Lutz painting and the park became an inseparable imprint on the public mind. The park represented the painting, and the painting represented the park. It was forever its imprint. In 1969, the Metropolitan Museum said, well, the painting's so famous now, we'd like to bring it back to New York. So rather than have the painting leave the park forever, Mrs. Hutton negotiated with the museum to have an exact reproduction authorized, the only one authorized, and then commissioned the painter to paint the exact reproduction of the Lutz painting. For 55 years, generations of reenactors perpetuated this national treasure through their historical authenticity and their visual drama. Through hard work, talent, and dedication, you've taught the lessons of history, of the 10-day campaign, and the lessons of history of Washington's ability to inspire and lead. Our award recipients tonight, not only through their love of history, but their love of service to the country, many of whom are veterans. Jack Jamison, where are you? Air Force veteran, served in North Vietnam in 1954, fixing airplanes for the Air Force, bombing Dien Bien Phu. Dick Bray, Korean War Navy veteran. Casey Jones, United States Air Force. Bill Henry Sr., Korean combat veteran, U.S. Army. Tom Gary, Colonel, retired, United States Army Reserve. Who did I miss? Jim Abbott, I missed. Marine Corps? Jim Abbott, United States Marine Corps. Okay. This is our cast tonight. Award recipients, long overdue for recognition, and this is our first dinner to do this. We hope to have many in the future. It's something which we reenactors need to tell ourselves that we've not only measured up as honorary first defenders to the higher purpose of teaching history to the world, to this country, but we honorary first defenders have measured up as most recent defenders in our service to our country. So let me introduce Frank Lyons now to talk to you about the Marbleheaders, the boatmen here that we are honoring, and what they have done over the years.
I don't have a lot to say. I'm Frank Lyons, sergeant of the 2nd Company of the 14th Continental Regiment from Marblehead, Massachusetts. And I come late, very late to this whole, this is our 8th year, Paul? Is that our 8th year rowing and participating? And we came down here, we met Casey Jones, the boatwright, several years ago when we finally got involved in, we're the guys that come in here and help to restore, renovate, do the maintenance on the boats so that they look nice for the Christmas crossing. But we were always in awe and totally enamored with the people that came before us that created this significant event and kept it going over so many years. And that's why I think this is wonderful that we're here tonight. This is a whole new chapter in the history of the park. And I'm so tickled to be a part of it and so pleased to be here. So we came late, but it's so nice to meet all these gentlemen and ladies who helped to make this what it is. This is hallowed ground, and preserving the heritage that took place, the history on this hallowed ground is so important. And I wanted to drink a toast, and I was trying to think of an appropriate toast, and we gave a toast earlier, the toast that Cornwallis gave to Washington at Yorktown, the end of the American Revolution, October of 1781. And Cornwallis, a lot of people don't realize that after a battle, when there's a clear victor and a clear loser, there's a ball. And both the victors and the vanquished would get together and they would toast each other and they would party, and there would be a band, and the ladies would come out in their finery, and the men would wear their mess dress military. And the toast that Cornwallis gave to Washington was this: when the illustrious part your excellency has borne in this long and arduous contest becomes the matter of history, fame will gather your brightest laurels, sir, not from these banks of the Chesapeake, but rather from the banks of the Delaware. Hear, hear. With that, it's my absolute privilege to introduce two people here tonight. Doug Miller, and I always heap plaudits on Doug, but none of this would ever happen if it wasn't. He's a wonderful catalyst. He gets it. He's an historian. He gets the history. He gets the importance of this site. Doug Miller, from the PHMC, the site administrator, acting site administrator of this park right now. Doug.
I want to thank you all for the work that you do, the work that you have done. I am in awe of the collective spirit here, the generations, actually hundreds of years of service that this collective group has put in. As a historian, it's important to me to remember the issues at hand in '76, but also to have an opportunity to share the evening with the men and women who have been bringing those issues forward to successive generations in this non-traditional classroom, which is what a historic site is. Now, Frank said that we are on hallowed ground. By my reckoning, somewhere between the McConkey Ferry Inn and the Johnson Ferry is where the crossing happened. So quite literally, Frank is right. We are standing right now on real estate the Continental soldiers were sharing that night while they were waiting for their place in their boats for that 5 to 7 hours while the crossing took place in the worst of circumstances. Recent history has the worst of circumstances for the park right now. And one of the things that I'm also honored to have the ability to do is to work with the new Friends group here. If you look over my shoulder, you'll actually be able to see the Delaware River, which is in many ways thanks to the efforts of the Friends group. They've done a tremendous amount of park cleanup. The program that we're just finishing today was their effort. And following in your footsteps, they are taking ownership as members of the public, because this is a public history site, sharing the efforts with the Commonwealth to put on living history for our visitors today and our visitors of the future. But we wouldn't be here without you guys. And I sincerely thank you. I'm honored to share this evening with you. And with that, I'd like to introduce both the president of the board of directors of the Friends of Washington's Crossing Park and our current General Washington, John Godzeba.
Thank you, Doug. I do echo some of the previous comments about your sacrifices to keep this event going. When I tell people I've been doing this event for 18 years, it pales in comparison when I speak to some of the boatmen here and some of the reenactors here, and they tell me I've been doing it for 37 years, 25 years, 34 years, and it's just amazing that you still keep coming out year after year after year to participate in not always the best weather, the best conditions. And why do we do this? It's for the public. I've never come out here on Christmas Day to try to do something for myself, and I think we've been trying over the years to build up the momentum to give the most historically accurate crossing reenactment as we can do. And with your help, it has always moved forward with that. A little background on this award. Not only am I the president of Friends Washington Crossing, but I'm also the head of the Reenactors Committee. And we met early on with members of the various reenactment groups, but also the Washington Crossing Reenactors Society, and they came to us and said, we want to help. We want to do whatever we can to get back, to start mending some fences, and start to work for the crossing again. And it was the work of Larry Rubini, Frank Lyons, Tom Blair, and various members of this committee to come up with the idea to honor people who have been long-serving members of the reenactors group that comes out here every Christmas. And I think it was very fitting that it takes place in the boat barn here, but also this time in our history. It's a very historic place, but this is a historic event because it is the first time, I think, that we've really honored anyone in this way. And I'm pleased to be here. I'm pleased to welcome you to the park today. And before we start giving the awards, I wanted to read the proclamation from Washington Crossing Historic Park. A resolution of appreciation, October 2010. Whereas in December 1776 on the banks of the Delaware, these were the times that tried men's souls. The story of Washington's crossing and the 10-day campaign that followed is the story of triumph taken from defeat. Whereas it is the story of bitter cold, lost battles, death from enemy action or harsh weather, and utter exhaustion. In the face of overwhelming odds, the remnants of the defeated army of General Washington devised and executed a last desperate attack that turned the tide of the British campaign and of the war. Whereas the historian David Hackett Fisher wrote in Washington Crossing that the story of Washington's crossing tells us that Americans in an earlier generation were capable of acting in a higher spirit, and so are we. Whereas in the decades that followed into the 20th century, enlightened citizens dedicated themselves to preserving the lessons of this history and the sacredness of the site. They established it as Washington Crossing State Park. Dedicated reenactors since the 1960s picked up with the park's founders to give visible presence and foster public awareness of the start of the battle on the night of the crossing. Whereas just as citizen soldiers stepped forward as our first defenders in the bitter cold of 1776, modern-day citizens stepped forward as volunteers to teach their lessons of history by recreating in fine detail the uniforms, weapons, and dress of our first defenders. Then they reformed the units of battle and reenacted the night of the crossing with its embarkation from the banks of the Delaware and landing on the far side in New Jersey. And whereas the decades have seen many dedicated Revolutionary War reenactors recreate the crossing, just as Americans in an earlier generation acted in a higher spirit, you also have supported this cause in the higher spirit. And now, therefore, this proclamation is enacted in your recognition for many years of service, donations, and sacrifice to preserve and protect the history of General Washington's army crossing the Delaware River to save the nation on December 25th, 1776. Given this 17th day of October in the year of our Lord, 2010, and it's signed by myself, President, Friends of Washington Crossing Historic Park, and Doug Miller, Site Director, Washington Crossing Historic Park. And for the recipients, this is your honor tonight that I think is well deserved.